Since we will be talking a lot about springtime animals, and one of those animals is the frog, I happen to have a book here at home, Princess Stories. Don't act allergic all of a sudden. You also like princess stories. So in this book of princess stories, there is the story of the Frog Prince. And this is a story that we've been reading a lot right before our last days of kindergarten. We read 2 different versions, and now here is our 3rd version. See how he could easily become a frog? So I'm going to be reading you some excerpts, some little pieces of this story mixed with my own version. And then in the end, we will have another version of this is not going to work. I'm going to have to do something with him. Okay, let's see. How about, Matisse, you sit right back there, cuddle up to that gorilla, and just hug him and listen to the story, okay? Can you do that? And try not to be too crazy over there, because the kids need to hear the story. Let's start with the beginning. Are you listening? Or you can sit here, and then you could see the pictures. This is how it is in circle time. We sometimes need a little bit of time to get adjusted. And what do I tell all of you? I shut my eyes, and I count 4, 3, 2, 1, and when I open my eyes, I should see you sitting on your bottom, crisscross applesauce, with laser beam eyes on me, and that's the part you have to remember. And you're all really, really good at it. So, the Frog Prince. Now, just because someone doesn't look very nice on the outside, it doesn't mean that they're not rather lovely on the inside, which is just what a certain little princess found out the hard way. Princess Pandora was a beautiful princess, but she was a little bit spoiled. She had everything she wanted all day, all the time. And one of the most wonderful things that she had was a golden ball that her father had made for her. He warned her to be careful when she took it out of the castle because it was solid gold and sparkly. But she loved it, and she would throw it up and down, up and down, up and down. So one day she was walking along doing just that and throwing it so high that sometimes she couldn't tell if it was the ball or the sun. But she would always catch it back again in her hand. Up and down, walking through the garden, walking out the garden, walking over near the pond. And up and down she threw the golden ball until it landed. Okay, Matisse. This story seems to have an echo.
Up and down,
How
splash.
about while I tell this story, you draw a nice picture that we can surprise them with at the end, okay? So she threw the ball up, and then suddenly it came down in the wrong place. Was down at the bottom of a murky pond. So what did she do? Immediately, she got down to some princess business and she started to... Exactly. She started to cry, quite loud. Nobody came, so she had to go even louder. Can you help? Okay. Exactly. And finally, she heard a little voice. Can I help you? And it was, you know who? A frog. And the frog said, can I help you? She didn't think that slimy, ugly thing could help her at all. But he said he could. And he told her that if he helped her, she would just have to give him something in return. The princess thought, fine, whatever. He's not going to be able to do it anyway. What can he do with those little froggy hands of his? My ball is golden and heavy. There's no way he could carry that thing. Fine, whatever, I'll give you whatever you ask. And what did he want? He wanted to eat from her plate and to sleep in her bed, and for him to be treated just like a prince. And if she would do that, he would get her golden ball. Yeah, whatever you want, I promise, said the princess. So before she could even say, just kidding, the frog dived down deep into that pond. Whoa, did he ever go? Down, down to the bottom. And then suddenly, quicker than you can say, what did I promise? He was back up again with the golden ball in his hands. The princess snatched the ball out of his slimy hands, cleaned it off, and went skipping back to the castle. She didn't even turn around to say thank you. She had forgotten about that frog completely. But he was calling after her, don't forget your promise. But she forgot. She went home and did her little princess things, and then it was dinner time. And when she was sitting at the table, there came a knock at the door. Who can that be? Somebody was there. The king looked from the table as the servant opened the door, and they didn't see anybody. What is this? Said the king. Who's bothering me at dinner? In came the slimy frog, and he said, it's just me. I'm here to get what the princess promised me. The king was confused, but soon things were quite clear. The princess had indeed made a promise, and she admitted that. Well, what did the king say? A promise is a promise and must be kept. So, look at here. There he was, eating from her plate. Whatever he wanted, he ate directly from her plate. Now, the king did not think this was very appetizing, and the princess was completely disgusted. But a promise is a promise and must be kept. And one of the other promises was that he would get to sleep in her little bed. And he did, right next to her feet, where it was very warm. He curled up right there between her 2 feet and slept the night away. Oh, slimy frog right there between your toes. But she had promised. He slept there for 2 nights, and the princess hardly slept at all. But she kept her promise. There's a few versions of the story. So this one, she kept her promise. Every day, her father reminded her that she had promised these things, and that is what she did. So finally, it was the 3rd night. And on the 3rd night, she lay down with a heavy heart. Oh, she thought, who will ever marry me now, knowing that I'll have to share my bed with a frog. I'll have this frog here between my toes for all my livelong days. What did I get myself into? But as the sun's dappled rays ushered in the new day, basically morning came, she opened her bleary eyes and expected to see the frog next to her saying, "What's for breakfast?" as he did every morning. But instead of the faithful frog, she was greeted by the sight of a handsome prince staring at her, gazing at her with the most dazzling blue eyes she had ever seen. The princess didn't know what to do. She didn't know where to put herself. It's not every day that you wake up with a dashing prince at the end of your bed. She spluttered, completely lost for words. "Fear not," said the prince, for somehow during that transformation he kept his froggy voice, but he had those blue eyes. "Fear not," said the prince, his voice just like a frog. "It is I, Ferdinand." The princess still looked baffled as she clutched her bedsheet to her chest. "The frog!" "The frog," the prince declared. "I was under the spell of a malicious fairy who turned me into a frog. I could have stayed that way too, if it hadn't been for you and your kindness in allowing me to share the very food you ate and the bed you slept in." The princess beamed. It was as if she knew that this would happen. She had never left the frog. Prince Pandora beamed. If she had known this would be the end result, she would have never left the frog by that pond in the first place. She blushed at the thought and how she had acted before. But the prince was an understanding young man, aware that given the circumstances, he probably would have acted the same way. Besides, he has that voice. What else is he going to do? They're together now. My dear, he said, would you do me the great honor of becoming my wife and coming to live with me in my kingdom? And the princess didn't hesitate for a second. She hesitated a half a second, though. Oh, yes, please. Because another thing the king had taught her was to always be polite. So if someone asks you to marry them, you should say, yes, please. Or no, thank you. So remember, if you ever happen to come across a talking frog with green slimy skin and bulbous eyes, don't be fooled. For inside that warty exterior, there could very well beat the heart of pure princely gold. So that is the somewhat original story from Princess Stories from around the world, retold by Kate, Tim, and then retold again a little bit by Mrs.LeClercq. We hope you liked it. Now let's see what kind of picture Matisse thought up for us. Come, Matisse. Whoa, let's show the kids what you drew. Go ahead, come on, they're waiting. Whoa, there's the princess, and there's the frog in the morning after he comes from between her toes, and he says to her, what's for breakfast? We hope you liked our story.
She's still sleeping, but I hate that picture.
It's okay, I like this picture. I think it's really funny.
It's not really my best.
It's not his best, but it's not easy to draw on these whiteboards, especially with a fat marker that is no longer good. Don't worry, Matisse. It was hard to do. So, we hope you liked our version of The Frog Prince, and maybe we'll find another one and see you all very soon.